you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Today our program today is a little more on the serious side. As all of us know, crime is on the rise, and especially a heinous crime is against children. And we have a special guest that has a program to help these kids and put some of these perpetrators away. He's been in law enforcement for 35 plus years. He's also spent the last couple of years on the FBI task force assigned to crimes against children. So I'd like you all to welcome Sgt Glenn Young.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. Bear with me, I might lay this down or something. I'll get used to it, but I want to say thank you for having me as your guest. I really want to enjoy today and the friendship and the fellowship. Like Mark said, I have 35 years as a police sergeant for a place out in the country called New Swickley. Started there when I was very young. I attended the State Police Academy in Greensburg, graduated from the State Police, and came back to New Swickley, where I wanted to stay. And in those years, I did your typical police work, but then in the late 80s, mid 80s, I had this calling. And when I was in the State Police Academy, I was a chaplain. If you came to the barracks, I'm the guy that if we had dinner, said the prayer, the benediction, and I did all that at the academy. So I just got so tired in the mid-80s, seeing all the child abuse and missing children. I started investigating some severe child abuse cases right here locally, and that just touched my heart. The more I seen, I just couldn't believe. So we moved into the mid-80s, and I was watching a TV program. How many people remember the movie Knight Rider, the TV series with the black Trans Am with David Hasselhoff? Well, I had this inspiration. I prayed about it, and I said, I think a car like that can save lives, if not change lives. Well, a lot of my colleagues laughed at me and told me I was crazy. From the higher ups to the lower, said, you're crazy, you can't build a car like that. And the turning point in my life was I got hurt pretty bad on the job, which left me partially paralyzed on a bad drug raid. It went bad, there was a shooting, and some weeks later I couldn't walk. Well, I had to get my life back together, and I said a prayer. When I came home from the hospital, I learned how to walk all over again. And I said, I'm going to do this thing for kids. That's going to be the rest of my goal and the rest of my career, to save missing children or missing and exploited or child abuse. So I started to write a script called The Dangers of a Stranger. I wrote it in the privacy of my home because my own people laughed at me like I told you, so I kept it to myself, and I wrote the Danger Stranger program. And the more I watched Knight Rider, the more I said, I think I can do it. I grew up on a little farm out in New Swickley, didn't have too much, and I saved all my nickels and dimes, and I started building this little car is probably on the scale of that table over there. Maybe just a tad shorter, about the same width. It's probably the size of the table. And I saved my money and I found a special body out in Tempe, Arizona. I went out there and had it custom made for the way I wanted it. And I came back and I started to build this little car in the privacy of my house. I developed an injection mode, everything you've seen in the big car that shot candy out from a stranger. They had the tilt mode. I took a garage door opener, and when your garage door goes up, that little wheel and spring, I took that all apart. And when my car, I'll say, kid, go into tilt mode, he actually goes this way, and he goes on two wheels and drives right down the aisle. The injection mode, believe it or not, there's all gentlemen in here, I turned my loneliness into creative thinking. I was hurt very bad. I could have got depressed, I could have became an alcoholic or a druggie, but that's not me. I took my loneliness and turned it into creative thinking. And I tell people that today. So the injection mode was, believe it or not, this is a funny part of it. I thought about it when I was sitting on the commode. This is a true story. I ran out of toilet paper and I took that roll off and there was a spring in there. So I took that spring and put it in a 3/4 inch water pipe and I cut it down and I put my candy in that pipe, and when I'm all done with it, I hit the injection mode and that spring shoots my candy right out. So that's the injection mode. It has a laser system for missing children's pictures, has headlights and siren, and it has an anti-stranger spray. Well, how did I develop that? I took a windshield wiper motor, the same thing you got in your car, and I took the little motor apart, and I hooked it up to a mustard bottle with a hose coming down to the water, and I have a secret hole in the body. When I say, kid, activate your injection mode, the little nozzle comes out of the body and goes this way and sprays enough water from here to Jerry. He'll spray him with water because he's the bad guy, and he runs away. So it's been very successful. The latest thing I do, I put a fire out. That's my newest thing. That's optional, and how that came about was I responded to a call, and in my program I tell parents, our children watch us. We are teachers to our children. And what happened was Scotty got out of school. He was going to burn the garbage for his mother. So, Mom, don't worry about it, I'll burn the garbage. So he goes to the burn barrel, and this was in Freedom, Pennsylvania, and he put the garbage in and he lit a little flame, but little did he know it was damp and smoldering. There was a tiny little flame down there, but he didn't know that. So he did what Daddy did. So what does Daddy do? He went to the garage and got a can of lawnmower gas and stood over the burn barrel and dumped the gas in the burn barrel, and Scotty was an instant flame. Burned beyond recognition. It made me sick. I got asked to go see him at the burn unit. I got the goosebumps now. I went up to see Scotty, and he looks at me and he said, Sergeant Young, I made a boo-boo, didn't I? I said, Scotty, don't worry about it. We'll get through it. And to this day, he doesn't go out in public. He has, I think they call it the call hands. He's like, they were so poor they couldn't afford surgery. He's all scarred up like this. He had his shirt off. He's nothing but one big scar here. And he inspired me to teach children not to play with gas, propane, et cetera, et cetera. So I went home and I took my creative thinking and I said, that car is going to put a fire out. And again, my people laughed at me. You're crazy, you're crazy. So I came up with a servo valve and I got a 1 pound bottle. I only had one man believe in me. It was a guy at the Center Township Fire Department. And I got a 1 pound of hay lot. I put it inside the car body, wired it all up. And now at the end of my program, I light a little fire. Stop, drop, and roll, don't play with gas, matches, da. And I light the fire. Kid says, Sergeant, I see a flame in the present. Can I put the fire on? I'll say, 10-4, kid. He'll drive up from wherever I'm at. He'll drive up to the fire, and between the two headlights is a secret nozzle. Psh, halon comes out, puts the fire out, the kids love it. And we talk about stop, drop, and roll. When I went to build that, I totally support myself. I asked a local man, if he would donate $150 for this special valve. He said, get out of here, I ain't paying for no toys. I said, it's not a toy, it saves life. You think it's a toy, but it's a teaching tool. So I got my own money and I built it, and it's been very successful and saved a lot of lives. So the car has become a symbol of safety. In my last 2 years of my career, I did a lot of work before that with the FBI. I worked organized crime cases with them, covert cases with them. They really took a liking to me at the old FBI in downtown Pittsburgh. And we did some covert operations into organized crime, and they really handpicked me for that. I was very honored. And as time went on, when the car came about, an FBI agent was watching me perform somewhere. And little did I know that we'd become best friends. In fact, he was going to be my guest today, but he had another commitment. I get a call from the FBI. And my wife says, you better come home. There's 3 FBI agents who want to meet you. And I'm like, okay. So I go home, and there's 3 FBI agents standing in their suit and ties. And, hi, Sergeant, how are you? I said, it's fine. I said, you've been watching me? And he said, yeah. I said, I hope it's good. And he says, no, I've never seen a car like that. It's the only one in the world like I said, it's the only one that I am. It's the only one around. He said, man, you open the doors to children and adults like you wouldn't believe. He said, we're suit and tie people. We're the FBI. And some people just kind of like shy away. You track people. And you find crime. You solve crimes. They tell you stuff that they would never tell us. And he said, we'd like you to be a part of us. I said, well, what can I do for you? He said, we have a program, get hooked on fishing rather than get hooked on drugs. And they show you, the kids will put needles in their arm, but they get hooked on fishing. I said, I'll think about it. And I said, what do you want me to do? He says, you be the main attraction. There'll be some FBI agents with you. It is in Fayetteville, West Virginia. I'm like, where's that at? It's 7 hours from here. It's way down almost into Kentucky. And I says, as long as you pick up the tab, I'll do it for you. And so me and my family went down, and I hooked up with the West Virginia State Police, the FBI, and I'm on stage performing my program. And everybody that got to see me got to go with an FBI or me. They all got a free fishing pole, and we went fishing. Most kids have never been this close to a policeman. My generation, that's what it was all about. You had people skills, you knew everybody in your community, and nobody was afraid of the uniform. But the kids today is like, you're a bad guy. So at the end of that program, I uncovered an incest case. A little girl come up and told me what's in West Virginia, what's going on. Her family she was a victim of incest. So I turned that over to the West Virginia State Police, and we were real close. I didn't want to believe this, but the FBI told me it's very true. We were real close to the Hatfield and McCoys. I thought that was a miss, but it's true. There are real Hatfield and McCoys down there. And he said, Sergeant, they're just not that far down that way. And I'm like, thanks for telling me that. He said, they settle things their way. And he said, they'll probably like you because you're a hillbilly cop or something. I said, but the FBI man, they call him a G-man. So I told the FBI, you better stay with me because we'll get through this. If you go out there yourself, I think you might not make it out of the woods. And we had a good time, and we unsolved an incest case. So I came back, and I got invited to Hollywood. That's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to touch briefly a little bit on missing children, because that's a program within itself. That's what inspired me to do the kid car. Roughly, there's over 30,000 children missing a year just in the United States, and into the hundreds of thousands in the world. And there's all kind of categories. I can't touch on them all. There's a runaway, there's a throwaway, there's a non-family category. And children, throwaway, like have family problems, end up on the streets, it's prostitution, you never find them, they become statistics, and a lot of them are dead. And I probably recovered at least 3 or 4 in my career, and most of my work was severe child abuse and severe sex crimes. I never thought, when the FBI came to me and they made me a United States Marshal, I had to swear to secrecy, and they sent me to New York City to learn to be criminal profiling of child molesters. And I didn't know what to do when I meet a real child molester. I mean, we're all creatures of habit, me, you, Mark, Jerry, and they taught me how to study all those habits, eye contact, skin tone, and it was a great education. I seen stuff I never thought I'd ever see in my life, and I couldn't imagine the things I seen growing up so naive out here. Who could do that to a child, or who could do that to a woman? My victims ranged from 3. My youngest victim was 3. My oldest was in the 70s. And when I seen this, it just touched my heart. It just messed me up. I couldn't believe some of the stuff I was seeing in New York. Just like Criminal Minds, the profile. So I got to go one-on-one with a real live pedophile. And good-looking young man in his 20s, and closer than me and this gentleman is, I asked him why he did what he did, what makes it do it up here, and I watched his eye contact and his skin, and I never thought I'd get to go live with a real pedophile. And he says he killed a young boy. He told me he killed him. He smashed his head with a rock after he raped him, he told me. And I said, why you do that? Why you like sex with little boys or sex with little girls? And he said, it's just an urge that he has. But he said something to me that I use to this day. And I was speaking in Pittsburgh some years back, and there were psychologists and therapists in the audience, some high-to-do people, FBI, state police. And at the end of my speech, I told them through all my years of experience, and through statistics, and through personal experiences, a pedophile can never, ever be rehabilitated. And I'm going to say that to the day I die. A pedophile can never, ever be rehabilitated. Yeah, I can steal that cup of coffee, I can steal that coffee pot, I can take Mark's card and say, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again, I needed it for something. I can be rehabilitated. But once you rape a child, you're going to do it over and over. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to lay the mic down. That boy, that man that I met, he went like this. He told me, he said, Sergeant, if I ever get out of here, which I'm not, you should kill me. And I said, why should I kill you? And he went like this, and I use it to this day. It made that lady mad. Time, opportunity. When these two things touch, victim. Time, opportunity, victim. Time, opportunity could be back there, it could be anywhere. If you give me the time and the opportunity, I'm going to do it again. I'm like, wow, you're really honest. He said, you have to kill me because I'm going to do it again. It could be a young child, it could be an older woman, I don't care. I'm going to do it. And I used that, and the lady stood up, she said, Sergeant, I think you're a prejudiced man. I said, well, that's your opinion, man. I'm not prejudiced. She said, well, I think you are. My job is to rehabilitate everybody. I said, you can't rehabilitate everybody. Some people, it's locked up here, man. They're going to rape and kill. I don't care what you do. And she said, well, I want you to know I disagree with you. I said, that's your opinion. In my opinion, I'm going to stick to, they cannot be rehabilitated. When these two things touch, time and opportunity, you become a victim. I don't care if you're male or female. And she didn't like that, but that's my opinion, and it's the truth. So my first case with the FBI, we went undercover for 6 months, and we were buying porno. The guy had no idea who we were. And we have to be briefed and debriefed after every operation. I'm not allowed to go home until my head's clean, because I see some wacky stuff. I mean, sex with animals, I had 2 of them, sex with dead people, and sex with little children. And sometimes I have a hard time cleaning it out up here. And before we're allowed to leave the crime scene, my supervisor said, are you okay to go home? Because I have children. I said, I'm fine. Well, this case went on for 6 months. We exchanged porno. And I seen some of the worst porno. It was from another country. But this guy, this sex crimes, there's unusual fetishes. I seen fetishes in New York, sex with the human shoe, sex with cigarette butts, sex with all kind of objects. So when I seen this, it was all little boys. Oh, wow. And this guy was 41 years old. I was this close to him, but he had no idea who I was. Good-looking young man, a professional, but he had an unusual sexual desire. He wanted little boys. And no matter if 10-legged woman is normal, in court we got to use what we call the male species, the female species, and all the right body parts. It's normal for a man to look at a woman. That's normal in life. It's normal for a woman to look at a man. But a woman walking here now, he wouldn't even look at her. That was an indicator to me, because he talked to me. He started showing me some of his sex toys and all this stuff. So my partner went in following later, and we had to get him out of there because he was hitting on my partner pretty bad. So, but what he would do, now, I give you the FBI taught me the elements of a crime. There's all kind of elements. If you're trained enough, and you can find the crime where the crime, you look at everything. I'm trained in looking at furniture. My wife gets on me all the time. I look at clothes. We're all creatures of habit. This might be one of my habits. I still do it, unfortunately. But he had an unusual sexual desire. And I'll give you some clues. Did he like white, black, or Asian? What do you think he preferred? white, black, or Asian. He liked Asian because you and I as white people, we get gray hair, we get chest hairs. That turned him off. And we get wrinkly skin as we get older. And he didn't like black, so he didn't want no black people. Asian, if you look at an Asian person, their skin is real smooth and complex, and they don't show their age. So, and a 15-year-old can pass for a 12. They look very young most of the time. So he would go to Asia, the Red Sea, because custom was with us, and he'd go over there to a family, and he'd give them $500. Can I have your kids for a week? We're going to just take me around the island, some pictures. No, $500 is like $5,000 to us, maybe. So he takes the kids, and I watched it. It made me sick. He was having oral sex with them, anal sex with them, hugging them all over, and I'm like, oh, God, huh? This guy's really getting to me. Now, we had no idea what he did yet. We're on our 5th month as undercover. I had no idea. Finally, the ultimate question comes. Oh, what do you do for a living? I'm in a van with an FBI, and I got a thing in my ear. I'm a plumber. I'd come plumb your house today if you paid me $500. I wouldn't know what to do, but I was a plumber that day. And I had a thing in my ear, and he says, oh, I'm a school teacher. And we all, me and the FBI guy, we looked at each other. Oh, my God. They had to withdraw. These two guys had to get out because they had kids in that school district. Conflict of interest, they weren't allowed on the case no more. I drove a school bus, but I was still okay. And when school would be out, like now, he would leave early June and go to the Red Sea in China and stay there the whole summer and film videos and bring them back and sell them to all his friends and sell the videos of all his orgies he had with young boys. Well, we decided to arrest him right away. So the next day, me and about 7 agents went to the house, knocked on the door, surrounded the place, and we arrested him. So he didn't know, he about pooped his pants, man. He had no idea who we were. So I had to sit with him for 45 minutes, just him and I. And I was learning profiling, and I said, can I ask you an educational question? F you, I don't want to talk to you. I didn't know you were a cop. I said, well, you ain't going nowhere. You're staying with me the rest of the day. And we've seen so much sex toys and children's photos, it was unbelievable. So he agreed to turn federal, states' evidence, take a federal polygraph. And the judge approved it. We were all on the phone. He approved. That was on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And they says, let him go. Make sure he comes into Pittsburgh Friday at 9 o'clock for the polygraph. So my wife wakes me up Friday morning, and she said, your friend Tom called and said, don't come to Pittsburgh. It's off. And I said, what happened? So I called Tom. He said he killed himself last night. He got in a bathtub, and a lot of those kind of people, he wanted to be clean. He put gum bands around both wrists, got in a tub of water, left the water run, and cut both wrists and killed himself. Because he knew that he'd have to tell us Friday who the big fish was. That's what we wanted. We wanted some higher ups, and he didn't want to squeal on nobody. So he took his own life. And of course, what can I say? I don't care, but I'm retired, so I'll say what I want to say, but he got out of it pretty easy, huh? And we really, and to this day, I see a few people that are still in my head that I can't talk about. They see me once in a while. In fact, they'll ask me a question. I said I'd rather not answer it. They heard that I was working with the federal government in my day, and I said, well, if that's what you heard, that's what you want to believe, but I'm not going to talk about that particular case because I still think some of those people are floating around that I know about, and I'm not ever going to discuss it. It stays up here. But he killed himself. So the program has become a symbol of safety. Kids can put me on the spot. I've done thousands of kids. I've been on national TV to local TV, been in 3-4 states with the federal government, the Secret Service. I was in Virginia. I had 6,000 kids in 3 days that I performed. I was exhausted. And with the Secret Service and myself and the U.S. Marshals. And it was a great time to unlock the door to a lot of kids that want to talk to you. The car has become a symbol of safety. I'll say that to this day. Just to see a one-of-a-kind car like that, and my personality, being in uniform, the kids just come up and they tell you things. I remember as a kid, I remember watching Art Linkletter. I don't know if anybody ever heard that name. When I was a little kid, I watched Art Linkletter. And remember that name, anybody? And the kids at the end of his program, Kids say the darndest. Yeah, at the end of his program, he all these kids said, "What do you want to say?" You know, my mommy does this or my daddy does that, and I'm like, you sit there, huh? And I kind of never thought that the kid would do that to me. Most kids can't wait. Like coming in here today, Mark, a little boy couldn't wait to see me, shook my hand, and I'm not knocking any pleas, but your personality make you or break you, and if you don't have people skills, I don't care how smart you are, you're not going to make it with people. I come from a farm, I was very poor, I have people skills, and kids tell me stuff. Adults, grown women told me about a violent crime where they wouldn't tell another person. I saw major crimes of, it's funny, I became known as the underpants bandit. I had females in 2 states calling me, I couldn't keep up with it because their underpants are, were a lot of local, did she wear blue or pink? Did she have this kind of bra? When I was with the FBI, I had to study Jeffrey Dahmer. We all know who he is. He had all kind of fetishes with underpants and bras. And I had success with my underpants and bras. It sounds weird, but I did some big cases. Those guys are sick. They murder you. So anyways, the little kid says to me, seen my program, and it says, so she called me. She said, "Sergeant, I like that car and I like that little truck, that truck. Can you keep a secret?" she says. I'm like, I never had a kid tell me that. "Can you keep a secret, Sergeant?" I'm like, ooh, I got to think real quick. I said, yes and no. If it's a bad secret, there's a man that wears a black robe. He's called the judge. And by law, I have to tell him. If it's not bad, it stays between me and you. You sure? I said, I promise. And she says, well, my daddy puts his pee-pee in me every Friday night. And it hurts. I got the goosebumps. I said, you can see my arms. I said, oh, no, not another one. So my wife says, what are you going to do? So I'm dressed like you are. I go over, I find out where they live. Most people know who I am. So I knock on the door. Oh, hi, Sgt Young, how are you? Come on in. I don't need a warrant. You invited me in. Huh? My cop mind's clicking all the time. The FBI taught me the elements of crime. I'm trained to look at everything. I look at carpet. I look at every freaking thing. Now I'll give you a little clue. The law says your eyes commit no evil. I learned that when I was with the FBI. Well, I'm looking at a live man with a blue shirt. I can't make that up. But in theory, that's a fact. But in theory, I don't know what he got in his pocket. Does he have a gun? Does he have a bag of marijuana? I don't know that. So you always keep that one spot there. That's a theory. So when I walked in, I made up a big story. You know, I'm doing fire prevention with my little car. I just wondered if I can look at your house for fire safety. Oh, I'd be more than glad. Oh, open the door again. So I walk in, we're going down the hall, the bedroom. Now I'm going to give you a test because I already looked. Where's your doorknob? Where's all your doorknobs? Your house, my house, this building. Where's the doorknob? Where is your doorknob if you're going to open the door for me? Where's the doorknob? Left or right, but where at on the door? Would I be safe in saying it's usually waist level, like that back here? So I walked in. I said, oh, who room's this? Oh, that's the girl. I can't think of her name right now. And there happened to be 3 holes in the door for 3 knobs. And I says, her name was Diane. I says, Diane, what happened down here to the original one? Oh, Walter's going to fix it. He had to move it up here. Well, what happened when it got up there? It broke. So now it's up here. I said, okay, thank you, goodbye. I said, you better get that fixed for fire safety. So now I re-interview the girl. I said, honey, how long has it been going on? She said, since I was 5. I said, how's he do it? She said, he comes home drunk every Friday night. Mommy goes away, and he takes me to the bedroom, locks the door, and puts his pee-pee in me and falls asleep. She's 5, so she can't take no more. She escapes. She's 5. She escapes. Now, I estimate her age being 7 or 8, so he moves it up, so she can't escape no more. He's still having sex with her for 2 more years. This is a yearly thing. So now he moves it to the center. She's probably 7 or 8. Daddy falls asleep. She escapes. Now she's 10, 11, 12, getting older. He puts it way up here. That went on for 7 years. That's a 7-year ladder. of sex crimes. I got an award for that one. The district attorney couldn't believe that, how I did that. And I says, I want that bugger so bad, I'm going to get him tonight. I got dressed. I went to Monaca. He worked at Phoenix Glass at the time. And they have a big hall. You can see where they're working. And I'm with a couple of local police. And I'm going down. I can see this guy down the hall just. I knew it had to be Walter. I never met Walter yet. And I said, Walter, my name is Sgt Young. This is so-and-so. I said, you're under arrest for raping your daughter, incest, and corruption of morals, a few other charges. F you. I said, well, you F me all you want. I said, but you're gone. So I took him. And he says to me, this is what made me sick. He says to me, I knew you were coming. I said, how did you know I was coming? He said, you're that effing cop with that effing little car, he says. You've been all around, he says. Could you, and everybody that sees me gets a picture like this. Me and David Hasselhoff, and this bottom picture was taken at Swickley Hospital, in fact, at the garage right across from the YMCA. That's me and my son, he operates the car. Could you imagine raping your daughter? She took his picture home, and I signed every picture, and she put it on her headboard. And there he is for the last time raping his daughter, and who does he look up and see? He sees Sgt Young, and he knew. He said, F you, F your picture, F your car, because I knew you were coming. And I said, if that picture took a pedophile off the street, it was well worth it, huh? And that made me sick. So that's in the car has become a symbol of safety. In 1989, I got first place in the nation. I never thought that would ever happen. I get a call from Washington, D.C. I got invited to Washington, D.C., to the National Coalition and to the White House. And I had the opportunity to speak about 10, 15 minutes at the White House on child safety. And I got first place in the nation. Locally, I had no support. A lot of people didn't know that, but I do support, I'll never give up. But if we can save one child's life, it's worth it. And now that we're through the pandemic, I didn't do nothing for a couple years. I'm getting back in the swing of things with my truck. I have a truck. It looks black like Knight Rider. It has the FBI on it, the National Center for Missing Children. I train at the National Center for Missing Children in Virginia. I look at age enhancements. I studied that. I still get missing children's pictures in 3-4 states. And I pray about all my cases. My last case as a federal agent, my victim was 3. That took a very good toll on me. I had to see a psychologist. But a judge, I had to go before a judge in 35 years. I never did that. And as soon as I walked in the judge's chambers, I was nervous, I was scared. There's a man sitting there, and he said, Sergeant, I just want to say thank you. I never get to see you privately like this for all them years of sex crimes. He said, how do you do? And I looked at him, I said, Your Honor, you think I don't cry? You think I don't have nightmares to sleep in my own room? I said, there's a lot of sick people out there. I said, and that's the reason why I'm here today. And he says to me, what can I do for you? I said, well, Your Honor, I prayed about this last night. And he says, Glenn, I like you, but what you say about prayer and faith, you know how the world is today. I said, no, Your Honor, this is me. I'm not saying you, him, Mark. I'm not telling none of you guys to pray. I'm telling you what I did and what I do. That's me. That's me, not you. He said, okay, and what do you want to do? I said, well, my victim's 3, and most people aren't trained in this, competency versus credibility. They want a competency hearing because they don't want to believe that someone had sex with a 3-year-old and how he did it to her. But I do believe her because she showed me. She took me to the crime scene. I got the goosebumps, and she showed me everywhere where the guy had sex with her. And she said, Sergeant, is he going to hurt me? I said, no. He said he's going to cut my fingers off. I said, he ain't going to cut your fingers off. I can tell you that right now. So when I presented that to the juror, or to the district attorney, they said, you're crazy. No one would do that. I said, I'm telling you, it's true. They want a competency hearing. I was scared. I never had one. What that is, that's where all the attorneys, the women have, they all sit right here, and me and Stephanie, the little girl, sit here, and you get to ask her questions. And the attorney walked in. I'll never forget Joe as long as I live. Joe walked in. I said, come on, honey. She jumped up on my lap like a little girl, my daughter. She just sat there calm as could be. And here comes Joe. Pulled a chair up right in front, closer than me and this gentleman. I mean, we touched knees almost. looked her in the face. Do I have a black shirt or a green shirt? Stephanie took my pen. I never forget Stephanie gripping me and like, I said, back off, counselor. That's intimidation of a 3-year-old. I wouldn't do that to a grown woman. What's wrong with you? That's the way it's going to be, Sergeant. I said, no, it's not. I fight for my victim. No, it's not. No, it's not. I said, I want a meeting with the high judge. I know the law quite well. Only a judge can overrule us and make the final decision. Is she competent enough to testify? And you don't have that right. So I got the grant. And the judge says, what do you want to do, Glenn? And I says, well, Your Honor, the Lord laid on my heart to ask you for a consensual body wire. What? I said, the Lord asked me to ask you for a consensual body wire. Whew. And what do you, he says, he says, Glenn, you work for New Swiftly. You know you can't do that. He said, you're not legal enough to do that. I said, well, Your Honor, I'm going to tell you a secret. For the safety of my family and me, I would open up my wallet like this, and behind my badge was a piece of paper. I pulled it out and I said, Your Honor, I'm a United States Marshal signed to the Pittsburgh FBI Crown. He didn't know what to say. I'm a federal agent, but I appreciate he wasn't telling me, but I'm going to retire soon anyhow. So I've been threatened, I tell Mark, in Walmart, Kmart, wherever I go, sometimes I arrested a pedophile. He'll follow me around the store sometimes. You know who I am? I said, get away from me. I arrested you 10 years ago. And he says, what do you plan on doing with this wire? I said, well, in all my years, I put people in jail on a Wednesday or a Thursday. And he says, you do? He said, he chuckled. I says, because on Sunday, everybody said they found God. I'm a born-again Christian. I didn't mean to do it. It was an accident. And I said, I'm going to be a priest this Sunday, and I'm going to get a confession. Oh, my God. He says, you're really into this, aren't you? I said, yes, I am, Your Honor. I fight for my victims, and I've been doing this for a long time. He said, I know you long. He says, I said, I'm going to put a wire down Mom's bra. It'll come down her left bra, come out her back, and I'll be in prison, and I'll have a thing in my ear with a recording. And I said, I guarantee you I'll get a confession. I prayed about it. He looked at me like, okay. He took the ink pen and he said, you got 24 hours. After that, you can't do it. And I said, fine. So Sunday morning, I go to prison. Mom didn't want to do it. I think Mom knew that her boyfriend was doing her daughter, but I couldn't prove that. I come close to proving it, but I couldn't prove it. She knew. And I told her how I knew. And she started crying. I said, don't give me no more fake tears. I can tell you what every kinky sex mood you made. So don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I know he melts candles on your back and you have kinky sex. So don't tell me you don't know. She didn't know what to say when I told her that. So they go to prison, just like in TV, they bring all the prisoners up. They got a big glass across here, and they put their hands up. I love you, I miss you. Oh my God, I miss you. And finally she says, what are you in here for? Well, that cop, that Sgt Young, he don't like me, and he put me in here. Well, he can't put you in there because he don't like you. I remember this exact conversation. Where's Stephanie? That's the little girl. Oh, she's with Sgt Young. She likes Sgt Young, rides in his little car and his truck. And I wouldn't let him around him no more. Finally, she says again, why are you in here? I'll never forget I touched her pee-pee. What? I touched her pee-pee. But it was an accident. No accident. Huh? No accident. And I arrested him, and I took him out, took her out, and she's screaming at him. She knew. I think she put on a show too, but we now end the story. We go to court, and all the attorneys there, and the attorney looked at me, the defense attorney said, you know, you're lucky I don't sue you, he says. You violated the 14th, 15th, and 16th United States Constitutional Amendment. You did illegal wiretaps, the right to privacy. He said, I'm going to sue you, Sergeant. I said, go ahead. He said, I heard about you. There's two of you on. There's one out east and you're out here. He said, does all these sex crimes. He said, and you ain't allowed to talk to him no more. I said, I don't want to talk to him no more. And this attorney says, oh, that's enough, no more arguing. I said, I ain't arguing with nobody. He said, well, it's settled. He says, we made a plea bargain. I went, what? You made a plea bargain without me and my victim? I fight for victim rights. Maybe a lot of other people don't. My victim's 3, and I ain't giving up. And what did you give him for having sex with a 3-year-old? Well, we gave him 3 years. I went, 3 years? I looked at that attorney and this attorney. I said, you guys disgust me. How can you do that? Well, you're just a policeman. We do the legal system. We already made the deal. And ain't nothing you can do about it. Ain't nothing I can do about it, right? Because I'm just a cop. Yeah, you're just a cop, he says. And I knew I was retiring, and I did that same thing again. Because I knew it. I only had 6 hours. And I was proud of this, man. I went, you know me as this. You know, buddy, you're going to sue me? I'm a federal agent. I'm a United States Deputy Marshal assigned to the Pittsburgh FBI Crimes Against Children, and I'll see you in federal court. Have a good day. And I'm like, wait a minute, Sergeant, wait a minute. We want to talk to you. Maybe you can help us. I don't want to help you, this guy. You're just sick. That's a pat on the wrist. You told him to go do it again. In fact, you can tell your client he's a suspect in Florida for doing a 5-year-old girl. Well, you better not call him. I said, I already made the contact in Florida. I said, he likes little girls, and it's going to stop, huh? So I left. Now I go to the grand jury downtown Pittsburgh as a federal agent, and I take it all the way to the federal. I said, I'm going over your head and your head. They didn't know what to say. I don't have to stay in Beaver County. I said, I'm going downtown Pittsburgh. I'll go downtown, and I testify before a jury of 30 people. And I tell them the story about Stephanie, how he had oral sex with her, vaginal sex with her, and used food. My first case, it was fruit and food used in the sexual activity. So the U.S. attorney said, Sergeant, don't show no evidence, but what do you have in your briefcase? And I said, she says, just tell them. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, I took 148 pictures. I didn't even tell Mark this. I took 148 pictures from that computer of his, the FBI did, and I said, all my victims are 12 and under with full vaginal penetration. And I said, I'm going to tell you how they do it. You never get a full view of the perpetrator. All my pictures, you only get a side view. They know what they're doing. You only get this much, you only see this much in my face. I look at my girls, and I'm allowed to develop, I'm trained in the human body. All my girls, when I look at their vaginas, they have full penis inside, all swelled up, and they make the girls do this. Cover your eyes, or I'll hit you. And you can see the girls like this with all the pain, and you look at their vagina, it's all swelled up, and all you do is get a side shot. You never get the third eye, because he's taking a picture. I was fuming. The jury just went, their faces fell. Do you have any questions of the sergeant? And I looked out there at the audience. Sergeant, you want to wait over there 15 minutes? Bound over to federal court. I got him 13 more years just for what I said. Wow. And I made it where he got an additional 3. I knew the law not to run them side by side with Pennsylvania and the U.S. government. Yeah. So when the Pennsylvania was done with him, U.S. Marshal picked him up and took him to Kentucky to a pedophile prison. And I remember him going out the door of the courthouse. His parents hated me. They looks could have killed him when I went out that door. And he looked at me, and I'll never forget I never had a man say this to me. After you, he says, I'm going to like that prison. I like it in the butt too, he says. I said, go enjoy it, huh? And that was it. And that was it. Now he's back out. He just got out. He lives in the North Hills area. I keep that track of him and stuff. I get a call from a lady from Freedom. She said, Sergeant, do you know Jeff? I said, I know Jeff quite well. Well, he's out of prison now. I said, I heard. She said, he fathered 9 children. And she said, I have 3 of them. He wants visitation rights. I said, ma'am, well, I'm retired. I can give you some guidance, but I would have supervised visitation with him. I don't care if he is their father, I would still have supervision. She said, would you do anything? I said, no, I'll put you under the right people, but I'm personally not getting involved in that case. I'm personally not getting involved in that case. So I had a great career. Probably time for me to end real soon. Only thing I ask of you as people, if we can save a child's life, I ask for your help or your support. I support myself. If you know anybody that wants to help me in any way, shape, or form, I do community events. I'm going to put some flyers over there before I leave. I do public speaking. If I bring the car out, it's a little different approach because there's more people involved and an expense. So if anybody can help me in any way, I appreciate it. If we can save one child's life, and I think we can do that, that's what I want to do till the good Lord takes me. I want to try to save a child's life and a missing person. And I want to thank you for having me. We all got to get involved. We just can't. Some people make me mad when I speak. Well, it'll never happen to me, Sergeant. It'll happen to them for. Never say never. These new generation young people got these little kids, not that they're overprotected, it won't happen to me. It just happens to the poor people or those kind of people. No. And then when it does happen, they want to call me. What do you think we should do? I'm trying to get back involved again with human trafficking. It's a big thing now. I made some contacts the last couple weeks. I'd like to get trained in it. There's so much human trafficking going on in our country. Little kids used for sex. I don't like that. So I thank you, and I ask you to spread the word any way with the program or any support that anybody may be offered to give to me. I do take donations if you know anybody wants to help to keep the truck and the car going. We're going to be making some appearances this summer in different places, I hope. And so I want to thank you, gentlemen, and hope you enjoyed it. And take care. And God, yes, sir. You have questions.
We got some questions here.
I do. Sergeant Glenn, back in the 20th century, I'm sure we all knew what pedophilia was, and I can't remember ever hearing about a case in the national news or the local news. But now we hear of almost every day there's a news story, sometimes even well-known people are accused of pedophilia, and I think we're inclined to believe that it's happened. Is it something in the water? Is it access to pedophilia on the internet? What is bringing this out to such a degree?
Internet's the biggest thing. The second thing, in our generation, if you said the word sex, that was a bad word. Huh? You never even said sex. Look at them people having sex. What is sex? Now, that's a common thing, man. I just seen on the news this morning, I got upset. I watched the news where Pennsylvania's trying to pass a law where the parents have the right to do sex education. Rather, they want kindergarten to sixth graders to have sex control in school now.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. I just heard that this morning in Pittsburgh. They want to talk about sex, about changing your sex. If you want to become a woman, you become a woman. That really upsets me. No.
There's a teacher out in Philadelphia somewhere that was teaching 4- and 5-year-olds their colors using flashcards with a pregnant man. Just happened last week.
I heard about a pregnant man. I heard about a pregnant man.
Yeah, that's how screwed up our education system is in this country nowadays.
And I agree with you. The hires up from government to celebrities, they're involved. I hope it all comes out soon. That's just my opinion. I'm not getting into politics. I hope it comes out soon. Where these guys having, from the President Clinton and all them having sex with little kids and using their body parts, and it just makes me sick. I probably shouldn't say it is, but those people should have been dead. Huh? To have sex with little kids like that, and teaching them to have a sex change. And I drive a school bus and I hear all that stuff. I can't say anything. I don't say anything. Because I think that's a parent's responsibility. I was doing a show in Steubenville, Ohio, about 8 years ago, and I wouldn't be a part of it. I did my thing, but I told this group, they invited me, I said, I'd rather not go. Right before I did my show, people were coming over, I'm looking what these kids got, and I said to my wife, what is all them things them kids got? So finally hey, what do you got there, buddy? Oh, look, I got that over there. They're passing out condoms. And I'm like, oh, not Sergeant Young Safety Program. No, I'm not being a part of that. I'm not here preaching, give stuff away. I'm not passing out condoms to nobody because they want to know if I wanted any for my thing. I don't want no condoms. I'm not giving kids condoms if they watch my show. Huh? No freaking way. Get out of here. I couldn't believe it. My wife couldn't believe it. We had little kids then, too. Like, one kid comes, what's this, Mommy? And that's when we discovered it. They had condoms. My kids had condoms. They go, oh, we're giving them away over there. They're not balloons, they're condoms, huh? Yeah, you're right. They're sick.
Any other questions? Anybody want a mic?
Questions, please? Yes, sir.
Do you have access to schools?
I do. I used to do the PTOs and PTOs. I haven't done none for a while since the COVID stuff hit. Usually they used to contact me, and again, it boils down. They have money, but a lot of them think, when they see me like this, they think the police pay for everything. Nobody pays for anything for me, not even a red penny. Everything I built that car is on personal loans. The truck was donated to me out of Chicago. Some companies donated to me. Keebler Foods in Chicago donated me a truck. If I tell them that I got to charge them for the PTO, they say, oh, I thought you'd do it for free because you're a cop. Now, I'm retired, I'm still in law enforcement, but I cannot do this for free. I'm a one-of-a-kind program. I have to charge you for my fuel, my mileage, and my equipment. Most of them do, but since COVID hit, I lost a lot of things. Yes, sir.
These schools are flooded with COVID money, relief money, so there's no shortage of money floating around to support what you're doing.
No, and I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. There's money out there. It's like when I built my car. If I ask for $100, I must jump out in front of the car out there. And now that I proved myself, I don't want nothing from that guy. Well, I'll give you $100. I said, I don't want your money. I believe in earning rather than expecting. When I asked for help, you laughed at me. Well, I'll fix your car. I said, no, that's okay. I don't want you. I'll fix it myself. But I just can't give up. I was going to give up this year. I had a major breakdown with my truck. Fortunately, I found a gentleman that in a company in Pittsburgh that took me under their wings. I showed him my nonprofit papers, and he come to my house. He said, how do you get your money, Sergeant? I said, well, I charge the PTOs and PTAs, and I have a fee if you ask me to come to your event. I said, but I'm nonprofit for education. I'm not nonprofit for you to write it off, but I'm nonprofit for education. And I gave him that. Couldn't thank the Lord enough. Cummins in Harmerville, Cummins Motors, they came to my house, and he said, Sergeant, I hate to give you bad news, but you got ripped off. And I did. I had $3,000 saved up in donations, and the guy took me. And I'm embarrassed to even tell you that. I'm too naive. I trusted him. And he ruined my truck and my motor. I cried. I was going to quit. 30-some years of saving lives. I said, it's over. I ain't asking nobody for a freaking penny because it's over. But when I need help, nobody wants to do anything. Well, that Cummins guy come over, him and his wife and kid. Cummins, I think they're in Illinois or Indiana. I don't know. They do a one-year project. If you're accepted, they'll come to my house, make the truck road safe, and take it to Harmerville. And they put a motor in there. To this day, they won't tell me, but I was told it was way over $10,000 motor. And got me back on the road and said, we appreciate if you just go back out and educate the kids. And if it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't be here today. So there are some good people out there. There's some people that like to use me in the car for political gain, and I won't do that. Sergeant, I'll give you a nice donation if you come to my election. Nope. I like you, but I'm not coming. I'll give you $500 if you come to my election booth and just sit there with the kid. No. I said, I don't play politics. I'm here for safety. I'm here for education. If you win, he doesn't like me. If he wins, you don't like me. Why?
When the perp is sentenced, if the wife or girlfriend is aware of what's been going on, what happens to them? Do they walk free or?
Well, in this case, her name was Billy Joe. Billy Joe knew how to play the system. Billy Joe was a very attractive 28 years old female. If she walked down the aisle, 20 men would have followed her. She knew that. And she knew that she was doing the daughter. I'm pretty sure she knew. Because, like I said, they had kinky sex, melting wax on each other, and all kind of other weird stuff. I told her she refused to wear that body wire. Legally, it could be called intimidation. Legally, it's coercion. I sat down with her and I said, you know, Billy Joe, she said, I'm not going to do it for you. I said, I know why you don't want to do it, because you think he loves you and you got a roof over your head. It's called security. And I said, I know that you knew, but I'm this close to you, but I can't pinch you. But if you don't wear it, I'm going to try to come up with a jar as a mislead in my investigation. I'll probably lose the case, but I'm going to charge you with false information. If you tell me this never happened, then you lied to me. I'll charge you with a false report to law enforcement government. Oh, no, you ain't going to do that. I said, then I shouldn't have said this. I said, then when I'm done charging you, I'll make sure that CYS takes her off of you. You'll never see her again. Of course, then she wore the wire. But I kind of pushed her into that. I couldn't arrest her. I wanted to, and the grandparents would support me. They didn't like her. I just didn't have enough. Very seldom I get to arrest somebody that really knows. The security will say, "What? He brings the money home." Yeah, but it's okay for him to do your daughter because he's putting the roof over your head? You're better off to go somewhere else. You go to the women's center or something.
Sergeant?
Yes, sir.
What can you tell us that would, my wife has 4 granddaughters.
Okay.
And what can you tell us that would be, inform them somehow to be cautious and be aware of people that are after them?
Good question, and that's another thing my program does. I'm glad you brought that up, because if you never see me again, please remember this one thing I'm going to tell you. You sit down with your grandchildren, be honest with them, and talk to them. Let them know that you care. And please, please use a family code word. A family code word. And you explain to the 4 girls, a family code word, boys and girls, is a secret word that only mom and dad know, not even your best friend. For example, the code word could be the color blue. A stranger may approach you and say, "Hey, I know Bill real well, and his number is 452, he works at the YMCA, and Bill said it's okay for you to go with me." What's the girl do next? Well, what's the code word? And we know it's blue. And Bill, the stranger, says, "Charlie." "Oh, I ain't going with you. No way." So what's the next thing we teach your child to do? Strangers do not like attention. Stranger. So the next thing, you scream and yell and you kick, "Get away from me." Knock the chair down. Because if I grabbed him and threw him on the floor, all yours are going to look. I want to get out of here. Strangers are going to try the quickest way out of here. Strangers do not like attention. So you kick and scream, and if we don't do that, that could be the last chance you ever see your kids, because a pedophile will take them away, or missing children statistic. Family code word, you change it every 6 months or whenever you want, but you don't even tell your best friend. That's strictly mom and dad's secret, or grandparents' secret, or whoever the situation may be. Be honest with them. Even the next thing, it leads to part B, if they don't feel comfortable with, this is a new thing, if you don't feel comfortable with anyone, it could be a relative. I had a grandfather doing his grandchildren. I had an uncle doing his nieces. You tell the children, if you don't feel comfortable, even though you're related, and if you don't feel comfortable around him, tell somebody. He's not a stranger danger, but I don't feel comfortable with him, Mommy, because he does this or he does that all the time. You should bring all that out so they know that. Family code words are important. The part B, if you don't feel comfortable with anyone, tell someone. If you don't feel comfortable with anyone, tell someone. It may not be anything. But they should. No, I never scare, but I'll make you aware of what's out there. The world we live in now, it's bad out there. And some parents don't want to talk about it. Like I told this gentleman, it don't happen to me, it happened to him. You should talk about what's going on in the world. The bad people out there. You have to. You can't keep them in a shell or take them to church. I'm not knocking any church, and say it'll all be good because we went to church Sunday. It ain't going to happen that way. You got to accept reality.
So based on your experience, you made the comment that a person like that cannot change. Is there any other backup or other information out there that confirms
Statistics. Some of them guys have been arrested 3-4 times for pedophilia. I hope I'm going in the right direction with your question. Outside of statistics and me talking to one live, telling me what he told me, are you saying, can he be healed or cleaned? Is that what you're saying?
I guess I'm saying he foreclosed forever in your mind.
Right.
Changing his bias. He's not going to change.
I don't think he ever will be. And you think there's a possibility that he can be?
I'm not thinking anything. I'm just
Yeah.
your remark. Because, you have psychologists and others like that running around saying just the opposite. And that would tend to be in society really used
They're going to tell you. They're going to tell you themselves they can probably change. I don't know if I'd want to. They'd have to prove that to me. I have never seen one yet, but me personally, I'm a firm believer that they're not going to change. Of course, like you said, psychologists had disagreed with me. One disagreed with me, and that's her opinion because she's making six figures, have them in an office for 15 minutes and say, "Oh, you're okay. Go ahead." That's why we got these mental patients. They turn them loose. There's no more mental hospitals, and they're out there doing sex crimes. Huh? Follow the money. You shut down these state hospitals.
Or shooting schools up.
Huh?
Or shooting schools up.
Or shoot schools.
Yeah.
And I just, not that I'm going to do it, but I just heard the other day, 18%, Pittsburgh police is down 18 or 30%. Nobody wants to be a cop no more. And so I wasn't going to say this, but I am. I wanted to get back into law enforcement, and because my pension's really bad, and I got a sick wife. So I put an application in 2 months ago with the Pittsburgh Police, and I'm older. But I put in for a special unit called Violent Crime Squad. And there was an opening. The title would be Consultant to Cold Cases. There's a lot of things I don't talk about. I'm a trained cold case investigator. I like going back 20 years in your life, see what you did 20 years ago. I just like to study that. Where were you on August the 5th, 1955? Huh? Your name's in this report somewhere. And you see the reactions 20 years later, and I like to look them right in the face and say, remember August the 5th, 1955? You watch their reaction. He goes this way too many times, or this way, or he looks down. He's like, he's thinking. I already know he's thinking, huh? And so I put in for it. I had an interview last week. I don't think I'm going to take it. They're hurting so bad, so many murders in Pittsburgh, some of them are going cold. There's a lot of reasons personally why I don't want to take it. Do I got to live in Pittsburgh? I don't want it. I don't like working I'm great in the field. I pat myself on the back. You send me out in the field, I get results because of people skills. But I can't sit in here for 8 hours playing on a computer. I can't do that. There's a lot of what ifs. I haven't said no yet, but that's a job that not too many people want, number one. All I would do is study murder cases every day of my life. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I got to do something. I drive a school bus now. That don't pay too much. So I'm looking to do something, but I don't know if I want to do that again. But Mark.
We're a little past 11 o'clock, so I want to thank you very much for coming out and give us a presentation.
Thank you.
I also want to announce that the Senior Men's Club of the Swickley Valley YMCA is going to make a donation to Project Kid.
Thank you. I do appreciate it. And I'm going to leave some flyers over there. Thank you very much. God bless you all. And if I can ever help you, feel free to call.
Thank you, guys.